Okay, here we have two of Boss's wonderful delay pedals, and I do mean wonderful because both of these are absolutely exquisite. On the left, we've got 2022's Space Echo RE-202, which is an amazing digital emulation of the Space Echo 150, and on the right, we've got 2023's Dm-101 delay machine. The signal path in this is all analog. It uses 8 BBDs. They're under CPU control, which enables us to have 12 different modes that we select with this knob at the bottom, from classic mono analog circuits like their famed Dm-2 to some really nice stereo panning effects. And this includes the multi-head mode, and of course the Space Echo is a multi-head machine, at least the originals were, that this is based on. So this begs the question, can you simply replace the RE-202 with a Dm-101 for those types of tones? And you know the answer's going to be no, but let's have a listen and see the differences sonically between the two of them. The 101 isn't attempting to be a recreation of a Space Echo, but it's giving you a flavour at least. RE-202. Over to the Dm-1. And oh my God, Starsky, you've just not set that up. I can hear you all cry, but we've just listened to a single note. Go to the RE-202. We are set up, the timings are about the same. But we've just got a different style of interaction with the feedback from both of them. I'll go through all that in a second, but tonally, we've got a lot more control on the 202. We've got saturation, we've got the tape, aged, new or aged, and we've got the bass and treble controls. You don't have any of that on the Dm-101. You're basically reliant on the sound of BBDs. The other really big difference we've got is the delay volume. So it's called the echo volume on the 202 and delay volume on the 101, but one's on full and one's not even on 50%. You get a lot more of the wet signal through, if you want, on the Dm-101 than you do on the 202. Okay, I'll kick off with the way the signal comes in. On the 202, we've got this saturation knob. If I just turn the delay off on both of them. So they sound similar dry, but I think the Space Echo does have a little bit of the saturation on. You can go in and you can completely turn that off in the settings. So it sort of takes a little bit of the top end off. Or maybe it's just my brain and maybe it's the volumes. But to show you this saturation knob, really nice, really interesting. It holds the notes on as well. You've got no control like that on the Dm-101. I thought this sounded a little bit more like it just twisted a tiny bit, but again, that could just be my brain playing tricks on me. But it's obvious we're getting a completely different tone from the Dm-101. Which brings me back to this feedback knob, holding it just before it self-oscillates. That's as far as we can go really, before it'll start to self-oscillate. There you go, I think right on the edge there. If we go to the 202 now, it just feels like it lasts longer. You'll see what I mean. Those third, fourth, fifth and sixth ones, they're still in there. We can hang on a lot longer before we get into self-oscillation. So when you're playing with them, they do feel different to play with. And also, obviously, The RE-202 is much brighter, but we can play with that. Actually, I've got it on aged at the minute, so it's not as bright as it could be. And then obviously we can knock down this treble. Comparing that to the 101. As I say, no control over that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, actually. I'll play something in a minute and it's just glorious. You don't really want to change it. It's a really nice tone, but it's not a space echo. Other things you've got on the space echo is obviously the reverb, which we don't have on the 101. Back to the 101. Similarities, though, is we do have a wow and flutter on the 202, and we've got this moderate and mod depth on the 101. So listening to the 202. Nice, that. Nice bit of modulation. Coming over to the 101, try to do something similar. Got a bit more modulation going on there. But you can hear what we're getting. Really nice modulation from it. That tape's definitely broken. Maximum on the 202. Much more subtle. But I imagine it's much more tape-like. And I'll do the maximum just for fun on the 101. Cool, different effect. Spooky. Okay then, we've heard what the Dm-101 can't do compared to the RE-202. It's only fair to show what the Dm-101 can do compared to the RE-202. Just in the interest of fairness, really. But I am going to do a Dm-101 full demo with synths, so you can hear what it sounds like with synths, because most of the demos that you hear are with guitars. But yeah, let's put it onto this pan mode. This is nice. Would have been better without that little mistake at the end, but you get the idea. The RE-202 just can't do that. Well, I hope that gave you a good indication of the sonic qualities of both of them. And as I say at the start, if you really want the Space Echo sound, you're going to buy the Space Echo RE-202. But for beautiful, rich, lush delays, you can't beat this Dm-101. It's lovely, and as I say, I'll do a full review of that soon. So if you enjoyed that, please think about subscribing. Join me over on Patreon for the price of a £250 non-fat extra hot caramel macchiato upside down a month. You get access to loads of patches, samples and tutorials, all that sort of stuff. Or do check out my starskycar.com. There's free stuff there and the stuff you can buy, but anything you can do to support the channel is massively appreciated. And most of all, I appreciate that you stayed to the very end. So I'll see you next time.